On today's Ditch That recipe, we're going to make a pizza crust out of a fresh milled flour recipe to replace store-bought pizza. Okay, so for my pizza crust, I'm going to do a double batch, which will make 6 pizzas, which is great for our freezer. So our normal recipe is going to make 3 pizzas. It calls for 700 grams of hard white wheat and 220 grams of Coruscant, but I'm going to make a double batch so I can stock the freezer. So I'll do 1,400 grams of hard white wheat. So I do 1,000 in one pan, and then I'll do 400 in the other pan because it won't all fit. I need 440 grams of Coruscant wheat. And again, I'm going to mill all of that on the finest setting. Okay, while my flour is milling for the pizza crust, I'm going to go ahead and add to my bowl 6 cups of water, a half a cup of olive oil. Again, this is going to make 6 pizzas. So I doubled my batch that's listed on the blog because I love to do this batch as a huge batch for my freezer. I'm going to add my honey, which is 4 tablespoons of honey and then 2 tablespoons of salt. So everything but the yeast and flour is in here. Once the flour is done milling, we're going to add it to all of these liquid ingredients and we're going to autolyze or let it sit for about 20 minutes and absorb all of that liquid to soften the bran and germ before we start to try to develop the gluten by kneading it. Okay, our flour is milled. This is about 1,300 grams of flour, and my Nutri-Mill Classic milled all of that in one batch. So I do love that about the Nutri-Mill Classic. It has a huge hopper and a huge canister to mill a ton of flour at once. So I'm going to add flour to my liquid ingredients that are already down in my mixer. So that was the flour, the olive oil, the water, the olive oil, the salt, all of that's added down in there. Okay, so I turned my mixer on for about 30 seconds or so and just got everything incorporated or moistened so that the flour can absorb some of the water before we start trying to work the gluten and get a good gluten development. We want that bran and germ softened. Okay, our auto-lyse timer just went off, so I'm going to add the yeast to my mixture and turn my mixer back on. And this one usually takes about 6 to 8 minutes to knead. This is the bigger batch, so it may take closer to 10. But I'm going to knead that for a little bit and get it to window pane. Okay, so since this is the bigger batch of pizza crust, I did have to go about 8 to 10 minutes, but you can see I'm getting a good window pane stretch here where it's almost see-through, and I can stretch it about 4 to 6 inches without it tearing. So that's what we're looking for. Okay, after our pizza dough kneads and we get it to the window pane texture like we were talking about, we can either, at this point, we can either put it to bulk ferment for a day. I even let it sit in the refrigerator for a couple of days if we're traveling, or you can go ahead and let it proof for an hour, double in size, and then portion out for your pizza crust. So that's up to you. At this point, you just need to decide if you're ready to bake it off or if you want to let it bulk ferment, which just means to put it in the refrigerator to ferment for an extended period of time. What this does is it's going to provide a yeastier, stronger flavor, and it'll let the flavor kind of develop. So
there's a lot of different ways to finish off your pizza. If I'm using a sheet pan, I always coat with olive oil or put a piece of parchment paper down. I spread my crust to the desired shape and size, and then I will often do a par bake, which I put my pizza in the oven at 475 for about 10 minutes. Then I remove and add my toppings. I will then bake for 8 to 10 more minutes depending on the toppings. After the par bake step, I will often take them and wrap them in plastic wrap and put them in the freezer so I can just top and finish off on a busy weeknight.